Joseph Naso now claims he killed 26 women. That's according to a new documentary coming out next month.
These new details are coming from another inmate who befriended Naso at San Quentin and over the course of 10 years got him to spill information about his crimes.
July 14th, 2025. San Quentin, California.
Turns out that a serial killer convicted in Marin County 12 years ago may be one of the nation's most prolific.
Cold air clings to the concrete walls of the prison. A man sits alone in his cell. His hair is white, his body frail.
91 years old in a prison hospital, some might question why this story is important. Well, for me and for other investigators, it comes down to the families of the victims who deserve the truth.
But his voice cuts through the silence. After decades of denial, Joseph Naso finally confesses.
Naso finally opened up about the list of 10 to an inmate he met at San Quentin, Bill Noguera.
Not to 4 murders, but to 26. Joseph Naso lived a double life. To some, he was a father of 2.
Why do that, though? I want to understand, why is that appealing?
I don't do that every day. I mean, I do that very little, and that's a sensual thing. I've seen that's been going on.
A dead woman is sensual?
No. A Little League coach, a photographer who volunteered at schools. To others, though they didn't know it at the time, he was a predator hunting women across California.
Looks are deceiving. That comes with direction. When I ask somebody, I say, hey, I'd like to take a picture of you looking deceased or unconscious, and this is what you do.
Born in Rochester, New York, in 1934, Naso grew up in a working-class family. He was quiet, disciplined, withdrawn.
Just days after a jury sentenced him to death in 2013, I interviewed Joe Naso about the evidence against him. The father of 2, a Little League coach and school photographer.
He served in the military, married, raised a son. By all appearances, he was ordinary. But beneath the surface, control and domination were already driving him.
I hope to bring closure to the families of those unidentified victims, but Naso continued to profess his innocence, even when I visited him on San Quentin's death row 3 years later.
Photography gave him the perfect disguise. He approached women under the pretense of taking their pictures. He stalked them, he posed them, he studied them. Behind the lens,
the prosecution also presented evidence of Naso's previous arrest record for sexually assaulting women dating back to the 1950s.
He wasn't preserving memories. He was rehearsing obsessions. The killings began in the late 1970s.
It's a case that police have attributed to a different man known as the dating game killer. I-Team reporter Dan Noyes is here to sort this all out for us, Dan.
Roxane Rogash was just 18. In 1977, she was last seen alive near San Francisco.
That Rogash's body was found in 1977. Prosecutors say that Rogash worked as a prostitute in Oakland near Naso's home at the time.
Her body was later discovered in the hills outside Fairfax. She had been strangled and left beneath brush.
Who are those women?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Tell
you
me,
know.
And I'll tell you.
You tell me.
I don't know.
You're still playing games.
Ask the prosecution. Ask the judge. I don't know.
Her body hidden but not buried. At trial, investigators described her as the first victim tied to Naso's list.
I asked Naso about a piece of paper investigators recovered from his Reno home, the list of 10. During trial, investigators identified 6 of his victims from that list.
In 1978, Carmen Colon, 22, disappeared while traveling near Martinez. Her body was found off a rural road. She had been strangled, stripped, and humiliated.
How many people did you kill, Joe, do you think?
How many did you?
I killed none. It's easy for me to say I killed none. How about you?
None.
Colon's case echoed the brutality of Rogash. The same pattern, the same violence. 15 years later, in 1993, Pamela Parsons, 38, was murdered.
When I told him, well, look, they got you because a list of 10, he started laughing. He said, they got it all wrong. Yeah, I killed them women, yes.
She was working as a sex worker in Yuba County to support her children. Parsons never came home. Her body was discovered in a field, strangled like the others. And in 1994, Tracy Tafoya, 31, was killed.
Naso killed 26 women may be supported by something found in the search of Naso's home.
Her body was found near a highway in Yuba County. Again, strangled. Again, staged. 4 women, 4 deaths. But the connection between them was too strange to ignore.
It took a bit of time, but he wrote it.
Here it is. I recognize the handwriting from the many letters I've exchanged with Naso over the years.
Each one's first and last name began with the same letter. Roxine Rogish, Carmen Colon, Pamela Parsons, Tracy Tafoya. The press seized on the coincidence. They gave him a name, the Alphabet Killer. The moniker triggered suspicion that Naso might be connected to the infamous Alphabet murders in Rochester, New York, from the 1970s.
But those aren't my list of 10. Those are my top 10. And that's when he went on to tell me that he actually had killed 26 women.
3 young girls killed. Same double initial pattern. And Rochester was Naso's hometown. But DNA cleared him. Those murders were someone else's crimes. Still, the California killings were real, and they carried his signature.
It was a running joke for him because another serial killer had been accused. He gave me a lot of little details that matched.
For years, Naso lived without suspicion. Neighbors saw a cranky old man with a camera. What they didn't see was the archive of horror he was building. Inside his home, he stored thousands of photographs of women.
Naso never gave Bill names. He didn't know names. So Bill would just write down little clues, little things, places, and that's what I had to figure out. That's what he needed me for.
Many unconscious, bound, or lifeless. He collected mannequins and dressed them in lingerie. He folded women's clothing into neat stacks, preserving them like trophies. And he kept a notebook, 10 entries, a list of women he considered his greatest hits. For decades, he stayed hidden.
This is Joseph Naso, the 79-year-old former photographer charged with murdering the women. At times, he smiled while prosecutors presented their case to the 6 women and 6 men on the jury.
Until a routine probation check changed everything. In 2010, Joseph Naso was on probation for theft. Probation officers came to his home in Reno, Nevada, expecting a routine visit. What they found would unravel his life. They entered the house and began searching. The smell of dust and mildew hung in the air.
This is a picture of all 4 victims presented to the jury. Prosecutors also talked about how DNA evidence found in pantyhose used to strangle victim Roxanne Rogash.
In a closet, they found mannequins dressed in lingerie, posed as if waiting for an audience. In drawers, they discovered bras, underwear, pantyhose. Some decades old, some brand new, all carefully pressed.
As you said, Naso, the suspect arrested in connection with those 4 murders, including 2 Yuba County women.
On shelves were shoeboxes. Inside, thousands of photographs. Women bound, unconscious, or worse. And then came the most chilling discovery. A handwritten notebook. Inside, 10 lines.
The 79-year-old senior citizen represented himself in this case. Some of the key evidence included a rape diary.
10 cryptic entries, each one describing a woman. Some matched known murder victims, others did not. The list of 10 became the foundation of the case against him. In 2011, Joseph Naso was arrested.
Joseph Naso's serial murder case, he is the man accused of killing 4 women in the 1970s and 1990s, referred to as the Alphabet murders.
2 years later, he faced trial in Marin County Superior Court. The courtroom was packed. Family members of the victims filled the gallery, clutching tissues and photographs.
Naso is a former photographer. He was charged and now convicted of murdering 4 women. You see the 4 women in this picture.
Reporters lined the walls, documenting every moment. Prosecutors laid out the evidence piece by piece. They projected photographs recovered from his home, images of women unconscious, staged, some clearly lifeless.
From inside a Marin County courtroom in the case of the accused serial killer Joseph Naso, who's charged with 4 murders over 3 decades, including 2 women in Yuba County.
They displayed the list of 10, tying specific entries to specific victims. They introduced the mannequins, the clothing, the diaries where Naso described more than 100 sexual assaults.
Given the seriousness of the charges here, a former federal prosecutor told KCRA 3 Naso may be making a life or death mistake.
Stretching back to the 1950s, many involving underage girls. Naso represented himself. He cross-examined witnesses, dismissed the evidence, and portrayed himself as misunderstood.
For more than a week, Joseph Naso has repeatedly asked a judge to let him act as his own attorney in a potential cold case serial killing death penalty case.
His demeanor was cold, detached. He never showed remorse. Jurors watched, horrified. Families wept. After less than 2 hours of deliberation, the verdict came down. Joseph Naso was guilty of 4 murders. The judge sentenced him to death, but 4 convictions didn't explain the evidence. The thousands of photographs, the handwritten list, the decades of trophies. Investigators knew there had to be more.
The foreperson read the decision. He looked down. He looked like he couldn't care less about this.
Still, Naso stayed silent. For 12 years on death row, he denied everything. In interviews, he insisted he wasn't a monster. In court documents, he maintained innocence.
This was really a big deal, Pam, but you would never know this was such a huge verdict, judging by Naso's reaction.
And the cold cases piled up. Families waited. Investigators grew old. For years, the truth remained locked away. Until now.
The 12 jurors heard a lot about DNA evidence connecting the 79-year-old alleged serial killer.
In 2025, a new Oxygen documentary revealed what investigators had long suspected. Death Row. Confidential. Secrets of a Serial Killer. The series featured William Noguera, another inmate on death row at San Quentin.
Noguera convinced Naso he had a buddy who knew the governor and that he should provide info about one of his cold cases, in effect, a confession letter.
For more than a decade, Noguera worked in a prison program assisting elderly inmates.
And she just drove me crazy about being an entertainer. And these photographs were because she was going to be a star. And she was dating one of the players from the A's.
He spent years by Naso's side. Slowly, he gained his trust.
But now they know that what really happened to her, and that was been my goal the whole time, is to give the victim's family that closure, that finalization. That's the whole motivating factor behind all of this.
Over time, Naso began to talk. Noguera wrote everything down. 300 pages of notes, clues, partial confessions, and finally, the truth.
Noguera took notes of his conversations with Naso that continued for 10 years, and he contacted cold case detective Ken Maines, who agreed to work pro bono.
Naso admitted the list of 10 was misunderstood. It wasn't every victim. It was his top 10. He laughed as he said it. Then he told Noguera he had actually killed 26 women. Investigators already had supporting evidence. In Naso's home, they had found a coin collection.
They found a coin collection with 26 gold heads. Those represent his trophies. They represent the 26 women that he murdered.
26 gold-headed coins. Noguera said each one represented a victim. Noguera turned his notes over to retired FBI investigator Ken Maines. Together, they began piecing names to the faceless women in Naso's archive.
In the courtroom, the visual evidence was graphic at times, including photos of the victims' dead bodies and personal handwritten notes from Naso's diary.
One case was Lynn Ruth Connis, who disappeared in 1976. She had answered a modeling ad.
Missing person Lynn Ruth Connis went to a restaurant and chained her bike up, and she answered an ad for modeling. It was really, honestly, fairly 101 basic investigations.
Her bicycle was later found chained near the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. In his writings, Naso described luring a woman through a modeling ad, killing her, and dumping her body under that same bridge.
He described seeing an ad for a model in the Berkeley Barb magazine, and they met at a cafe. Naso wrote, "After she chained her bike, I drove her to my home in Oakland."
Another case was Pamela Lamson, 19. who vanished in 1977 while visiting Mount Tamalpais. For decades, her death went unsolved. Now, Naso's own words confirm she was his victim. Piece by piece.
Late that night, Naso says he drove her body to the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge and, quote, in the low rail section, I stopped and quickly put the bag over into the bay.
Investigators are matching names to the women he once reduced to photographs and trophies. The revelations stunned law enforcement.
Bill Noguera is a former death row inmate to whom Naso turned for protection. He told me during conversations over the course of 10 years, Naso admitted killing 26 women, including Pamela Lampson.
Joseph Naso had been convicted of 4 murders, but by his own words, the real number may be more than 24. Agencies across California and the FBI are reopening cold cases from the 1950s through the 1990s.
Naso told Noguera he had a fake press ID and pretended to be the Oakland A's photographer, that he arranged to meet Pamela Lampson at Fisherman's Wharf in October 1977.
Every missing person, every unsolved strangulation, every woman who fit his pattern. And for families, the confession is bittersweet. Closure after decades of silence, but confirmation of what they feared all along. Joseph Naso sits on death row at San Quentin. Old, frail, unrepentant. He lived as a father, a coach, a photographer. But behind the lens, he was a predator. He posed women like mannequins. He staged their bodies.
He wanted to relay this message to everyone. He says, I am looking forward to my opportunity to present my closing argument.
He killed 26 times. For years, he denied it. Now, at the end of his life, he admits it. This is the story of Joseph Naso, the alphabet killer, the photographer who murdered for decades, and the man who, in 2025, finally told the world how many lives he really took.